Hey, it's Eli here, your OGO co-host. Just wanted to say, this episode is brought to you by Switch Fix. Switch Fix is a better way to play Switch on the go. With a sleek, lightweight design that allows you to slide in your Switch, clip in your Pro Controller, and play comfortably. No more faulty attachments and uncomfortable Nintendo Switch grips, which, trust me, I had like these red Mario ones that were like super plasticky and blocky, and it's like, I'd rather almost just use the plain Joy-Cons. Switch Fix is a game changer. Get your Switch Fix today at getswitchfix.com or join our giveaway by clicking the link below. There are 6 ways to win. Through the link, you can subscribe to Chiptooth Gaming, like a CTG video, visit Switch Fix's Indiegogo, share the campaign with your friends, join Switch Fix's exclusive email waiting list, and a bonus entry when you do all 5. One more time, that's getswitchfix.com or enter the giveaway in the description below.
Welcome to the 4th episode of Old Games Old, Chiptooth Gaming's bi-weekly gaming retrospective podcast. You can get the show on youtube.com/chiptoothgaming and the podcast services of your choice, including Spotify. My name is Noah Friscop, and across from me, the San Francisco treat, Eli Shaw. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day in San Francisco.
It's a not so beautiful day here in sunny Meridian, Idaho, but it will probably change by the end of this recording. It'll probably be sunny and everyone will be outside.
Awesome, that's good.
It's good until it's like, oh, it's a sunny day out, and then it's just torrential rainpour for 5 minutes, and then it just stops again.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's like it's just shaking constantly, like a snow globe. It's like sometimes it'll be fine, sometimes... That was a terrible analogy. Let's just go right into it. I'm trying to think of like, it's like the symbiote or something, where it just like creeps inside of you.
Oh,
and then and then before you know it, you have a big ass tongue for some reason. Vanquish is a 2010 third-person shooter directed by acclaimed director Shinji Mikami and Platinum Games. Style with substance. Go play it, please. That's literally all I have to say. So before we started recording this, you said you had a lot of questions. I just want to kind of build my summary of this game off of your questions, because I feel like that's probably the best way to go about this one, because it's so fucking wild.
It is. I watched about like 40 something minutes of gameplay, and I gotta say it's visually like very, very enticing. Like I didn't really need any of the sound.
Yeah.
Like the voice acting's whatever. It, typical PS3 era like Japanese action game.
It's incredibly platinum in all of the best ways.
Oh, absolutely. And I guess just to get started, like I've only played probably one Platinum game, which is their Transformers game.
Oh,
I forget what it's called.
Devastation. I remember this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know how many you've played, but of all of them, how do you feel about Vanquish, like ranking up against the rest of them?
So if we're gonna go up against the rest of them, so I've played Bayonetta a little bit, Metal Gear Rising, Transformers Devastation. They made the awful... I did not like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 game at all.
No, they look bad.
Platinum, which sucks because that's like such a natural marriage. Just want to make sure I'm not missing any, because they've made some weird things. Nier, of course, which it's always, that one always seems like so high above everything else that they've done in the last few years that I forget that it's them. But it's probably my favorite out of all of these.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, it's also a little bit outside of their pedigree. Like, usually they're more of like a melee action type game studio, but this is just the most balls to the wall shooter you could ever play.
Oh yeah, they kind of like, it seems like they penalize you for using your melee abilities.
The melee abilities or cover, like you get dinged in the scoring system. So it doesn't have like the most deep scoring system or anything like a Bayonetta, because there's obviously not as lot of moves, but it does penalize you for little things. It wants to keep you moving, it wants to keep it fast. And so the Shinji Mikami, the director, he basically wanted to make a shooter with low downtime as humanly possible. So this game is just constantly going, and it's constantly incentivizing you to move forward. And that's pretty similar for a lot of other Platinum games, so it was a pretty easy marriage of the two. But I think it definitely stands out as kind of not in their typical vein. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about the fact that most of them are pretty melee based, and this is just a straight up like third person shooter. Like just extremely fast paced and very much platinum.
Yep, extremely fast paced. And the melee, like when you do use it, even though it is decentralized because so you have your like basic health, and then you also have your like suit's heat. So you have to manage your suit's like energy output, and the melee, it's a very high damage, but it's also very high heat cost. So you really don't want to use it for that often, especially if you're surrounded by enemies, which you usually are. And just to piggyback off the enemies, I just love how completely ridiculous and nonsensical that the enemy in the game is Russia, and you're basically fighting Russian battle droids the whole time, and it's pretty much the greatest thing ever of all time.
That's a pretty good description of it.
Japanese ass Russian battle droids and mechs and crazy spider robots that, oh my gosh, it's just absolutely bonkers. So you have to know that going in, that it's completely batshit crazy. And if you're not down for that, then just go away, because this is not going to cater to you whatsoever. And yeah, like you said, the dialogue, it's very corny, but it's also has like a weird charm to it that is very uniquely platinum.
Yeah, you made the battle droid analogy. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw basically like an ATST at one point.
Yeah, there's like walkers and mechs and all kinds of like spaceships. It's pretty similar, and yeah, like they're pretty inept as well. Like just the main just like grunt unit that you fight it's not the smartest, but they'll still kick your ass if you don't keep moving.
Yeah. So I guess that it still seems like pretty cool, even though like it's a little derivative of some things. But yeah, you have like your little heat bar at the bottom corner, right? Is that connected to your health at all? Because I was watching gameplay and it seemed like they were just taking hits and not super like facing any consequences.
So it's almost like a Venn diagram where it's like if your heat is down and you're getting hit, you're probably gonna end up dying faster, but if you have more heat, you're probably going to survive. So it's like not necessarily, but also it's very closely tied. It's intrinsically linked to your health. So if you're caught, in a bad spot with no heat, like you're not going to be able to get away, you're not going to be able to activate the bullet time mechanic, then you're pretty much probably going to die if you set yourself up for that situation. So,
yeah, can you talk about the little slowdown bullet time
absolutely
thing? Because that's connected to your health too, isn't it?
It's connected to so there's the health, there's the heat, and then there's also like a bullet time like meter, almost like the stamina meter from Breath of the Wild, where it's like a it looks like a pie graph, like when it's going out. And so you can either activate it by sliding, which sliding is like the big gimmick in the game. But so you slide and then aim, it activates the bullet time mechanic. If you jump over cover and activate aim, it'll activate the bullet time. So basically, just if you perform any action with forward momentum and then aim, it'll activate the bullet time. And then you can time it up for like pretty crazy combos, like tossing your grenade, hopping over cover, activating the bullet time, and then shooting it just the right time. So that it is a very simple combat system that layers on itself better than most third-person shooters. It's probably why it's my favorite third-person shooter, because it has the action game kind of depth to it, which is really rare. You usually just like stop, pop and shoot, or just kind of like run around and shoot the weak points or whatever. But this game, there's enemies with giant orange spots to shoot, but they will completely adapt, and the enemies are so numerous that you have to keep moving and you have to keep constantly using all of your weapons available. And you use all of the weapons available. Every weapon has its chance and has its use. Like for example, like there's some big like tank like guys, and like it will just have put a rocket launcher there, and like it only has a few shots, but it'll clear you for that encounter. And like you're gonna, if you were to face that enemy with like an assault rifle or whatever, it would take a lot longer. So every weapon, as it should, feels like it has a specific use, which is really nice. And there's an upgrade system on top of it, so where it's like collectibles basically, but they're not really hidden that well. It's just kind of as you progress, you get upgrade points, and then whatever weapon you have equipped, you can activate it with like, I think it's like R on PC or whatever, and it'll damage at first, and then it'll just basically increase the magazine capacity, which by the end you'll have like an assault rifle with like over 1,000 rounds possible.
Oh my god!
So like it gets pretty insane, but it all feels balanced because you can only do it for one, so you have to kind of decide what kind of weapons you want to really specialize in. But at the same time, you have 3 equipped at any given time, So I usually had the assault rifle all the time, and then if I could, the shotgun and the sniper rifle. Replace the sniper rifle with either the rocket launcher or the heavy machine gun, even though I don't really like the heavy machine gun that much. There's just so much ammo, you can just eat away at some of the enemies. But yeah, every weapon feels balanced. Every move feels like it has the potential to unlock even more skills. Like, I feel like the skill ceiling for this game is really high, and I want to see someone who's really, really good and a lot better than me play it. If that makes sense? Because I feel like it'd be a visual treat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially, so you said, like, the sliding is, like, the biggest draw for, like, the game, and kind of like where the gameplay is like centered around movement, and the sliding basically kind of encourages you to keep moving.
Absolutely. And like it's on the cover art, like on the cover art, the main character Sam, he's sliding, so like that was the whole marketing move too.
That's true.
Yeah,
it was really cool. Like watching the gameplay, I was like, okay, I've seen sliding before. Like Titanfall does sliding, Destiny does sliding. Like
but in 2010, probably pretty cool.
Not only do they do it like so early, but like it's a totally different type of sliding. Like this isn't based on your like current momentum. This will just like rocket you forward as you're sliding. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, and then the sliding leads to like doing like somersaults into cover and moving in, ducking and it's a simple mechanic that you can use in very diverse situations. If that makes sense.
So what difficulty did you play on?
I played on normal, and honestly, it was pretty tough. Like, you typically on normal in shooter games, at least Western-developed shooter games, you can stay out for a while and kind of take several hits, and then, like, your screen will get all red or whatever. But if you get caught off guard and you don't have cover, you will die. Like, it doesn't matter if you have this badass suit of, like, power armor, like, you will die so fast if you are caught off guard. And with cover-based games, I found that, like, to justify there being cover, it needs to be crucial. But not only is cover crucial, but just also probably even more beneficial to cover is just keeping moving, just that push forward combat that Doom 2016 I think kind of reinvigorated in people, and just like the notion that it's a lot more fun to just go forward and defeat the enemies as you go rather than just stop and pop Gears of War style. Even though it has a kind of an odd choice. Because, like, you're, like, this lone badass soldier or whatever, it constantly keeps you with AI companions all the time. So you're pretty much slowed down by these squad of, like, normal, just normal soldiers, if that makes sense. So it's almost like you're given all of these tools to go off and do really cool stuff on your own, but then you have to babysit.
Yeah, it seemed like as they were playing when I was watching it, there's, like, just normal like NPC allies that I don't know if they were helping or not, but like they were going down and you would have to revive them. Is that like something that's mandatory, or is it just like, oh, like get an extra point for reviving your teammates or whatever?
It's definitely not mandatory, but it is incentivized because once you heal those soldiers, you get items or weapons back. So like if like you can get some of the power weapons from them. So it's in your best interest to heal them, and it also factors into the scoring system that I was talking about earlier, where the less casualties you have on this given chapter, then the better score you'll get. So it doesn't feel like a chore, and like it happens fast enough where he sticks the imaginary syringe in them and they're healed.
So you said there's like a score and everything. Like, is there a rating system like Metal Gear or whatever?
Yeah, so there's a traditional platinum rating system that factors in like your time in cover, soldiers healed, or soldiers that are alive by the end of the mission, so on and so forth.
So it's like A, B, C, S type of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I want to talk about like how like the boss fights, because I read in the thing like there's boss battles and people like kind of commended it for their boss battles, and I'm thinking like boss battles in shooters typically aren't great. I mean, they kind of have evolved in current days with like Destiny and like all these looter shooters where it's not really a boss battle, it's just like like basically your raids are your boss rush with shooter mechanics,
Yeah, just those giant bullet sponge enemies that are cool to look at, but you're really just shooting a big giant thing that covers your entire screen most of the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's probably the lowest point for me.
Okay.
They are a lot better than like a Destiny boss fight where you're just shooting one spot, because there's very specific weak points that you have to hit. So there is at least some precision involved, but that's where I found the game to be faltering the most, and that's where I got the most frustrated, because some of these boss fights can instant kill you if they go get close enough. So
okay.
Which would be fine if you were in like a more open area, but it's often traps you in like these hallways where you can barely escape. So that's probably a big reason why I can't really give it a 10 as much as I love it. There's just little things like that seems like oversight. So yeah, the boss fights, while probably more novel than most shooter, especially third-person shooter, because like Gears of War is just big monsters or whatever, Lost Planet just big monsters, but there's a little bit more going on, and they're aesthetically very cool, but pretty much the weakest area of the game for me.
Okay. So before I ask you, like, okay, if I'm gonna buy this, like, I'm probably gonna play. If I have to play on my PC, hook up a controller. You had some like issues with that. What do you have to say about something like that?
So it took years and years for the PC port to actually happen, but now that the PC port exists, I don't think any version of the game needs to, because it's so monumentally better. Like, what did I say? Like, it's like taking a sports car out, but your right arm is broken, so you can't use the shifter. Like,
yeah.
Just like it would feel so constrained, but who knows? I only messed around with it a little bit. It just, after playing it on mouse and keyboard, it would just feel kind of counterproductive to go back, if that makes sense. Yeah. And also just the higher frame rate. This benefits for sure from a higher frame rate. Like most PC games, like, it's middling. Like, you could probably have a very similar experience on either, but I feel like this is one of the cases, like those very, very fast action games where you want that.
Okay. And is it like a remaster, or is it just like...
It's a port. There wasn't really any visual work done except, unlocked frame rates and unlocked resolution, pretty much.
Oh,
fairly basic. I think it's on current gen consoles as well, though.
Okay. Anything else you have to say about it?
Other than I don't know why this isn't a multi-billion-dollar franchise that Cliff Bleszinski wanted. Dude. He wanted it so bad, but I really don't understand why this game hasn't received at least another sequel by now, because it's just so good. Like, just the gameplay is so phenomenally executed, and any little gripes I have are pretty much thrown out the window when you're in the moment playing it. And I want as many people to play it as possible, because I don't know how well this re-release sold, but it can't have been that much, because I really haven't heard of it since. And I really do feel like it's probably at least one of the best third-person shooters ever made.
When I was watching the gameplay, I was like, all right, I'm pretty much sold. Like, this looks amazing. Like, third-person shooters have kind of gotten stale for me. Like, yeah. Especially after Uncharted kind of made it big, and then it seemed like everything was kind of copying Uncharted for a while. For
sure, yeah.
So I'd love to see like a sequel or something. Like, I know we're probably not going to, and Platinum is like always juggling multiple projects at a time, so I don't know when they'll have time to ever get back to it, but I don't know, like either a sequel or something very similar, like in style, just a spiritual successor,
That's one of the things. Like, if I was given a blank check tomorrow and was like, you get to make any game you want, the short list of games I would want to make is a Vanquish spiritual successor, because you could do your own aesthetic and everything and still capture that feeling, because it's a lot of what makes this game great is the feeling. Even though I love the crazy Japanese, like, nonsensical modern politics inclusions into it, and I'm a sucker for that stuff. It's just very campy B-movie-esque stuff here, but
you like jazz?
Exactly. But I honestly think you could easily capture this feeling without all of that, because it just, the way that it feels is completely trumps anything else that it has, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed very like gameplay heavy, and the story was it was interesting, but like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's politics, space politics, basically.
Well, it's just like, so I guess the initial inciting incident or action was like Russia destroys San Francisco, just wipes out the face of the earth.
I'm not cool with.
Yeah, not cool with that at all. So the stakes are immediately raised. And so then, you go to like a very Gundam-esque colony in space, and you fight them, and there's crazy-ass robots and battle droids, and it's just the scale of it all is just completely overblown from what you would expect from anything involving the U.S. and Russia in space.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if you don't like very anime-ass crazy games like that, I probably wouldn't bother. But if you can just turn your brain, I wouldn't even say turn your brain off, because there's a lot of substance in this game. This game has style and substance. That's the thing. It doesn't skimp on either one of those, but I think the gameplay definitely is still the star. So yeah, I would just say if you like crazy over the top games like this, you like shooters, or maybe if you've grown stale with shooters and you want something to reinvigorate that, I would definitely give this one a shot, because I really don't feel like anything like it has been made since. Like, Anthem is probably the closest thing, and it's still not even close.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. Like, if anything could kind of come close to it, might be Anthem, but at the same time, like, they're just so vastly different that it wouldn't even really be able to, like, you couldn't compare the two.
No, and even like Warframe, it's very momentum driven. That has a lot more like light and fluid nature to it, whereas this is very like, you can feel the weight, and which makes the speed even more impactful, because you move around, and like the sound design, you feel like you're in a giant metal suit.
Oh yeah, the suit is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
One of the boss fights I saw, he jumped onto a robot and like started tornado spinning and drilled through the robot. Like,
that's the kind of stuff if that sounds awesome to you, then that's not even the best of it. Because there are some QuickTime events, but they are not crazy. They're not the focus for sure, and they're all awesome to watch. They're all entertaining. The cutscenes are great, as corny as they are. Like, the main character is he's basically the Japanese idea of like a American cool guy or whatever. He's like smoking his cigarettes all the time, and except you can use the cigarettes in gameplay. You can like divert fire. You can like light one up and toss it, and then they'll like follow that for a second, and which allows you to jump over cover and shoot. And it's just it all has a purpose. And that's something you rarely see, where a lot of games just have shit for no reason, like just unnecessary upgrade systems and all that kind of stuff. Like, this game just feels pure. It doesn't feel like there's any fat to it, except for maybe the boss fights. You stream them down a little bit, but it just it feels like a complete vision. And I can't wait for the possibility of something like it coming back. I with Sega, who knows? I wish somebody else owned the IP, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So I would honestly have Capcom rather have it at this point, because they're doing good stuff lately.
That would be amazing. And like, their new Resident Evil engine, like,
that would be immense. That'd be incredible.
I'm just saying, I'm just tossing that out there.
Just please sell it. That'd be amazing. And honestly, like, since it's very anime heavy, I would love to see just like a short series made out of this. I think it'd be awesome. You could do some crazy stuff with the action and the visuals. Yeah, if you love crazy over the top Japanese action games, then there's really nothing to say other than some minor annoyances in terms of boss fights that get in the way with it. It's absolutely incredible, and you should go play it immediately.
All right, great recommendation. I enjoyed watching it. Like, at the very least, watch some gameplay, read through the synopsis. Like, it's pretty cool stuff.
It's immense. And just like the way he just runs around without his face mask on for like 95% of the time, but when he pops it on, shit's going down, and he's gonna do some crazy QTEs and stuff.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 was released in December 2003, published by Atari and developed by Dimps. It features 31 characters and funnels you through the classic DBZ story with a unique twist.
A unique twist, you say?
It's pretty unique, I gotta say. Probably my favorite take on playing through this game's story.
So, does every Budokai game have the same story?
Pretty much. I mean, so if we're going like classic Budokai, you got your 1, 2, and 3. Budokai 1 ends at the Cell Saga.
Okay, so there's room to expand past that.
Yeah, so Budokai 2 was the first time you could play like the entire Buu storyline and like play all those characters and everything. Okay,
so it's the series is the whole story, not just every game going through the entire storyline, because that would be egregious.
Actually, every game you play through the same story.
Oh, but there's more to it, basically?
Yeah, between 1 and 2. 1 ended at Cell, and then 2 included the Buu saga, and then 3 just like basically the same story with different mechanics, and then after that they all just either stopped at Boo or went into like the extended universe of Dragon Ball Z and everything.
It just gets crazy.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy. I guess 3 kind of adds a little bit, but we're talking about 2 because that one's the cool one.
So it's the cool one. So what about it makes it stand out from the rest?
So the thing that I want to focus on that makes it stand out is the fact that you play through the story, the traditional Dragon Ball Z story. We're not talking Dragon Ball. We're not talking GT. We're definitely not talking Super.
Is GT canon or is it that non-canon? I don't actually know.
GT's canon, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to point out real quick that I look like the whitest person on Earth right now. Like I have the same lighting as I always do, but for some reason, like I look like I'm staring at my own ghost.
It's okay. You need some sun, but
I get plenty of sun. That's the thing. I'm always outside.
Huh.
It's odd. I don't know. Anyway, Dragon Ball Z. So for someone who barely knows anything about Dragon Ball Z, and for my main touchstone is the Team 4-Star Bridge series.
Mm-hmm.
How do you compare this game to other Dragon Ball Z games? It's a 2D fighter?
So the Budokai series 1, 2, and 3 are all 2D fighters.
Okay.
There's more that make it 3D and you can fly around and everything, but these 3 core ones are 2D. So it's similar to like your Street Fighters, your Mortal Kombats.
Okay.
I don't think you can like kind of pivot in this one like you can in like Tekken.
Tekken, yeah. See, if it was like that, I would be all over it. And because that's my shit right there. I want that not the 3D in the sense that you can fly everywhere like I know a lot of the other Dragon Ball Z games are. That gets a little bit too much, but yeah, just a little bit of sidestep. Just let me sidestep.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of sidestepping, but it's not like you're rotating too much around like a unique arena. Like it's pretty 2D. You can just sidestep to dodge like a blast if it's coming at you.
Okay.
But you can't really like go around anyone that much. So yeah, I would say this is probably my favorite and definitely the most unique because you're playing through the traditional Dragon Ball Z story, you know, all the way up to the Buu saga, and then you know, your classic like skirmish or, you know, whatever it's called, versus mode. But the story is super unique because you play through the Dragon Ball Z story in a board game fashion.
It's like Mario 3.
If that makes sense. Kind of, but I guess so, because Mario 3, you do have some like whatever enemies like Goombas or whatever like moving around on the map, right?
I don't think so. Like they move around, like, so like you can't get to specific areas, but like that's not, you don't really interact with them too much.
Okay, so it's similar, but you are basically like chasing your like the story's enemy. So like say, you know, in the story it's Goku who's going to fight Vegeta or whatever. Classic Dragon Ball Z, right?
Classic.
So you're Goku at the beginning of the board, and then Vegeta's maybe like way at the end. He'll move around and you'll move around, but also there will be like little like Cybermen and like, which are kind of like mini bosses in between. So you're moving your board. It's kind of like a Mario Party style board.
Okay.
And you can either like go around the Cybermen and get to Vegeta, or like fight through and kind of, I believe you can level up a little bit in between, but it's not like super deep RPG stuff.
So there's light RPG elements before that became every game.
Yeah, there's definitely more elements in 3, but I think this one is pretty light on it. Yeah, and you'll have multiple enemies on a board, and as well as like multiple people that you would be playing as. So it's very much like you're chasing the main story enemy, but in between there's like mini bosses here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anything?
So I guess I know like there's so many Dragon Ball Z games, like how does it collectively publicly stack? Like, is this the darling of the Dragon Ball Z franchise?
I would say it is kind of artificially because it's like the hardest one to get a hold of, I feel like. So they published a remaster of 1 and 3 on like PS3 360 consoles and probably PC, I don't know. But it was missing 2 for some reason, and for anyone who's played all 3, 2 is definitely the most unique and definitely has like the best style, just in like the menus, the like your little health bars and everything. And there's also some unique characters to this game that are pretty cool.
Okay.
Like you have your fusions, with the earrings and the fusion dance, and just it strays from your traditional like Gotenks and Vegito, whatever.
Like, a lot of Dragon Ball is ridiculous, but just the fact that they don't even bother having a unique name is just jam their names together too. I love it.
So yeah, you'll get if you mess up your fusion, like someone random will jump in. Not super random. It's I think someone who was canon to the show when they were just like messing around. So yeah, if you're Goku and you are doing your fusion and you like mess up the button little QTE thing, Hercule will come out, and then you'll be playing as Gokule, which is like a very short, like, weird mix between the two, and it's not fun, but it's hilarious that you can actually play like
kill me.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's like, oh god.
You don't want to mess up, but at the same time, you kind of do.
Yeah, you definitely want to see all those. Like, is it like a cutscene, or do you actually get to play them as them for a little bit?
Oh yeah, you get to play them
for really?
Like the duration of, I want to say, like a normal fusion.
Okay, that's amazing. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I think they really went wild on this game. Like in 1, you basically just played through the Dragon Ball Z story, like beat by beat. You finish a fight, and it'll put you to the next fight, and then like a little cutscene in between. But the fact that you're doing more than just fight scene, and you're like actually interacting with the story is pretty cool, I think.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, so does it have traditional like anime cutscenes? Like, does it take any footage from the show, or how does that work?
No, it's all in engine.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll have like the Budokai 3D models, like kind of doing the signature stuff from the show when it comes up in the story.
Do they have facial animation at all, or is it just silent text dialogue?
It's kind of like, it's very like anime, where I mean, like the eyes will do some changes, but for the most part, like the face models are the same. It'll just like their expressions might change very, I don't know,
over the top, or just kind of
very over the top, and kind of it just happens. Like it doesn't seem supernatural. It's just like, oh, surprise, eyes big, like
the music cuts, and they're just kind of like standing there, and then with the surprise face. Okay, that's pretty much what I imagined. I was just like, how ahead of the curve was this? But okay.
Oh yeah, no, and like as you're playing through the story, like there might be some text dialogue that'll come up, and like there is a little bit of that like traditional JRPG thing where, like the little faces will pop up, and then it'll be a block of text, but it does also include like 3D animated like cut scenes in a way.
Yeah, just try to mimic what people know and have already experienced many times over. So it was like 2003, right?
Yes.
I was trying to think, because like Soul Calibur 6 from last year had a very like the world board, and you can move around, and just adding that little bit of interactivity makes the fighting game feel a lot more robust, at least in my opinion. Especially as a single player guy, because like, just doing match after match is fine, but like actually having it have some geography, I think just kind of makes it all feel a little bit more authentic, and it's just not all for the gameplay, but it actually kind of all fits into a cohesive narrative. And I know Dragon Ball has been done so many times, but just that's kind of a cool twist on it, just being able to have you interact and do some things that are not canon or whatever. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, you can also, like, as you're playing like on the board, you can kind of recruit allies.
that were not like part of the story at all. So it's like you pretty much are telling your own version of the story in a sense. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah, you can add people that weren't there or weren't even like in the story at this point. Like,
so like Star Wars Battlefront, the heroes, where it's like you should be here.
Yeah.
Okay, that contextualizes it for me. That's interesting. How does it feel mechanically compared to something like Fighter Z? Like, does it?
Oh, so the Budokai games are very, very simple mechanically for a fighting game. Like you have your punch, which for me is, I'm going to use PS2 controls. Adapt
that.
where you need to. So square is your punch, triangle is your kick, and then circle is your like energy attack.
Okay.
And so you can do like a quick, like very simple combo of like punch, 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 circle, and you'll do like your Kamehameha, or you can just hold right and circle, and then you can just automatically do it.
Okay, so it's very easy to pick up.
Oh yeah, super easy.
Okay, so it wouldn't necessarily be a like competitive level game, or was it ever? Do you know?
I don't think it was ever. I would be surprised if it was, because it is so simple mechanically, and even back then, like you had very deep mechanics in fighting games, for like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, like the classic stuff. So I don't think this was ever like a competitive thing. Like I think Fighter Z was probably the first competitive Dragon Ball Z fighting game,
because they tried to make that like as legit a fighting game as possible, and that might make it a little bit more daunting to jump into rather than something like this, which is just like pick up and bash your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Like so 2003, I was like 8 years old. I was playing this with my dad, and he was able to like pick up a controller and figure it out like himself, and it's very much like a simple game, and for kids for sure.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because like I know, like I don't want to. I hate this term, but like the fighting game community feels very like gatekeepy sometimes, where it's just like if there's such a high skill gap, which is awesome. I love watching high level fighting game play, but sometimes I just want to punch CPU characters and win, you know.
Yeah, this is a game for you then, because like you have your story, you have your versus mode, and then I think since the beginning, at least with the Budokai games, you have like a little tournament mode where like you can basically do like a tournament bracket, fighting all of the different Dragon Ball Z characters. Some of them you're like fighting in a ring where like you can get like ring outs and everything. You don't have to actually like beat them. Yeah, it's very cool.
I love me some ring outs. I'm a Soul Calibur guy from forever, so like that's always fun to me, even though it's kind of bullshit, but
Oh no, it's a legit like strategy, and like it fits within the canon of the show, because like they go to the same like tournament spot, and like it's true, like if you step onto the ground, you're done, no matter like how well you're doing in the fight.
See, that's cool. It's like Dragon Ball lends itself so well to games. Like there's some shows that just you can't help but make games out of them because it just makes so much sense. And yeah, Dragon Ball is just one of those, like, no matter what the genre is. Like I know like there's been some light RPGs that are like on the Game Boy, and there's been tons and tons of fighting games. And there's an open world RPG coming out soon, which I'm actually really interested in. But yeah, it makes so much sense. And just any like tournament anime, just they lend themselves so well, and that's why so many games get made after them. But
yeah, Dragon Ball is really like the perfect anime video game like melding, like show, video game, whatever type of format you're into. You can definitely see how it crosses into other form of media
fairly effortlessly.
Yeah, there's so many Dragon Ball Z games. Like they're always working on one. It seems like
it's probably multiple at that point. Like who publishes those nowadays? Like.
I think it's Bandai Namco.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's just
how
many. I would like to know how many games are actually being developed or either in pre-production or going to come out. But it just seems like they never stop. Like you had the Fighter Z, which is probably the best one I could see recently.
Yeah,
and then the Xenoverse, which is like the 3D, the full 3D with like created characters kind of skew. So yeah, whatever kind of fighting game you like, being 3D or 2D or whatever, like there's going to be at least 15 Dragon Ball Z games for you. But this one seems to stand out from the pack, which is cool.
Yeah, I could definitely see this being like the like base evolution of what Fighters is now. Because it's not super 3D. Like after Budokai 3, you had like your 3D Dragon Ball Z games, and then that was like your PS2 Xbox era, and then once it got to PS3, it fully embraced the 3D fighting, and like even up to Xenoverse and the current generation.
Yeah.
It's still 3D, but if you like Fighters, definitely check this out. You can see like a simpler version of that, and if you're into Dragon Ball Z, and even though Fighters is like the current thing, and it just seems daunting, like go back to one of these games. It's very simple, and you get to play through the story, and it's pretty fun.
So unfortunately, a lot of the games we have, like at this point, there's a lot of re-releases or anything, but this one still only looks like it's available on the PS2 and the GameCube. Which, if you ever need an excuse to bust out your PS2 and/or GameCube, it's always a good thing. But at the same time, it might not be as easy to go back and jump into as some of the other things we talked about on this show. But if you know someone with a GameCube and/or a PlayStation, this looks like, and you could probably get this at GameStop for probably like 16 cents or something.
Yeah, if you have like a retro game store around you, you can probably find it. I know I'm looking for a good copy because my disc got scratched up pretty bad.
Rest in peace. I'm so sorry. Condolences.
I know.
100%.
I'm so mad. This was my favorite of the 3 Budokai games.
Viking Funeral, that case.
Honestly, no, I can't, because it's that shiny silver. Oh, man, it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful case. Like, listen, guys,
pristine,
the case itself,
collector's item here.
Yeah, if you have it, hold on to it. They're not gonna remake this game. They're not gonna re-release it. They're not gonna HD
collection this bad boy.
Yeah.
4K 60.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really don't see, as beloved as it might be, there's really no point when they're probably just remaking a spiritual successor to it anyway. When I was looking for the logo for right here, there was like so many like fan made like Budokai HD collection photoshops or whatever. It's like there's clearly
with 2 in it.
Yeah, with 2 in, well, probably all of them, but yeah, it's just like this is clearly a beloved title, and it's kind of cool that its DNA is still seen somewhat recently with his, with the Fighter Z, which is pretty much universally loved. I haven't really seen anyone hate Fighter Z, for at least for the fans that like these kinds of games. But it's pretty cool. I want to see the cutscenes, and I want to actually kind of analyze the gameplay, because that's always fun to do with fighting games. So yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it sounds like if you have any way to play it, this is probably a decently fun time, especially if like me and you suck at fighting games. Yeah,
and like it's more than just a fighting game. It's like half fighting game, half board game. Like you're really like collecting things, even when you're not fighting, you're collecting like Dragon Balls or like skills or even characters to unlock later.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it when there's robust, substantive single player modes in fighting games. It always makes my heart happy, because that's the kind of stuff I want to be doing. And now I really want to go play Soul Calibur 6, because I've neglected it big time. Big time.
Give us more story modes, compelling story modes in fighting games. Listen to Ed Boon.
Ed Boon killing it over there at NetherRealm. Injustice 2 on another level, I'm telling you.
Mortal Kombat 11, man.
Mortal Kombat 11 is probably great. Mortal Kombat's always been there, but like I've never considered myself a big fan. I've never really gotten into it, but after the just sheer quality of Injustice, like I even played X and I was like, this is fine. But after the sheer quality of Injustice 2, like I think I gotta give that a shot. But this is not that show today. So any final thoughts on Budokai 2 before we close her out?
Yeah, I would love, it's never gonna happen, but like Ed Boon, if you somehow have the opportunity one day to work on a Dragon Ball Z game, just take the Budokai formula, take even any of the, not one, but 2 or 3, like take that formula and make it as deep as Injustice 2, and hopefully, I don't know how Mortal Kombat's going to be, but I'm talking Injustice 2, you got your gear, you got your your RPG stuff, like a cool story. Like, just mess around with the Dragon Ball Z stuff. We don't need the same story every single game. Like, it's kind of tired now.
Do your alternate universe thing. That works really well with Injustice. But yeah, could you imagine if NetherRealm made a fucking Dragon Ball game?
Dude, that would be so awesome. Like, imagine Dragon Ball Z
the sheer hype from that, because there's got to be the Venn diagram of anime fans and like Mortal Kombat
absolutely. And listen, Black people love Dragon Ball Z. Black people love fighting games. Amen. Black people love Mortal Kombat. Like, it's perfect.
6 million copies day one. I'm betting on it.
Support the Black community.
Amen.
Mic drop.
Just boom, it's done. So, what are we going to be playing next time, or what are we going to be talking about that we may have played in the past or recently? Have you decided? Because I think I want one. I think it might be kind of like kind of a little bit too on the nose, but what's your thought? What's your thought? I want to talk about Borderlands 2.
Borderlands 2?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been playing it more recently, and like I shit talk it. I talked shit on it a lot when 3 got released or the teaser came out, and now I'm like addicted to it.
No, Borderlands 2 is very addicting. It's a very good game. Man, I kind of want to hop on Borderlands with you.
Do you want to do that?
I mean,
that sounds fun.
Listen, I love Borderlands. I can talk people's ear off about Borderlands. So
I've always been like a fair weather Borderlands fan, where it's like it's always there and it's fun, but it was never my thing. But man, I'm just enjoying it so much right now. I don't know why. And that one re-release, I didn't think I was gonna pick up 3, but anyway, we're not talking about modern things. So you want to talk about Borderlands 2 next time?
I'm gonna do that with you, yeah.
Okay, let's do this. Another big one. I'm down with that. There's plenty of game to chew on there, and that gives me an excuse to plow through the rest of the story. So, all right, next time, Borderlands 2, Gearbox just announced a sequel. Randy Pitchford, kind of a weirdo. I'm just gonna get ahead of it. I'm fully aware of this. I'm surprised
he's still there.
Yeah, but I'm like, is this all fine? Like, their employees are totally okay with it. Also, pay your staff, Gearbox. That's all.
Long story short,
pay your staff, you fucking weirdo.